We'll go ahead and get started if everyone's ready. My name is Aaron. With me today is Ben, and we're really excited to show you new product from Finit called ReportIt Security. Before we get started, I want to give you a little bit of logistics help with GoToWebinar and a brief overview of who Finit is. You'll see a GoToWebinar pane here. We really encourage you to join in and ask questions as the presentation goes. That said, everyone's muted right now, but please go ahead into that question field on your GoToWebinar screen and type in any questions. If we have time at the end, we'll answer as many as possible, but anything that we don't answer, we'll come back to after the webinar and follow up with you personally with an email. So let me talk a little bit about who Finit is as a company. We're really proud of our people and our culture here. At Finit, we have a different model where we put people over profit. The best way I can explain that is to contrast us with some of our competitors. Most consulting companies bonus their consultants based on billable hours. At Finit, we send questionnaires to our clients, and our consultants are bonused based on that feedback. We do this for a few reasons. We think it incentivizes our consultants to partner with our clients instead of just billing them. We're in this to develop long-term relationships with our clients, and we want to align their interests with ours in a way that doesn't impact project budgets. Internally, this creates a very different culture at Finit. We have a culture of collaboration. Everyone at Finit has access to everyone else's knowledge. No one here is competing for chargeable hours, so we take great pride in learning from and teaching each other. We boast 100% client success, and this is the way that we've gotten there. Soon we're going to reach our 100th OneStream client, and as you can see here, contrasting and comparing the number of OneStream clients and total clients with the number of OneStream projects and total projects, we have customers come back to us for additional projects. This is really important to us. It indicates that they have a good experience with Finit. Here's a little timeline. You can see that Finit's had a relationship with the creators of OneStream for a very long time. In fact, even before OneStream was released, two of Finit's managing partners actually co-designed and co-led the first OneStream project at Federal Mogul. So you can see over the 10 years that we've built our OneStream practice, we've had a lot of firsts. I would stress here also that we're a diamond partner with OneStream. That takes 25 projects to qualify as a OneStream Diamond partner. Finit has 250 OneStream projects, so we like to boast that we're 10 times Diamond. We have more than 100 OneStream consultants, and we're the OneStream market leader. With that, I'm going to hand this over to Ben to introduce himself.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining the call today. My name is Ben Holliday McCann, and I'm a lead consultant here at Finit. I've been with Finit for just under 2 years, and prior to that, I spent about 10 years at a Fortune 500 company working in various projects, including as a Hyperion administrator, BI and reporting developer, spent some time in change management. But yeah, really excited to be here and share the ReportIt security solution with you all today.
Awesome. Thanks, Ben. My name is Aaron Bolshin. I'm an implementation lead at Finit. I've been here 10 years. I have 15 years of CPM experience, and the last 7 have been exclusively with OneStream. I've worked with more than 25 OneStream clients over the course of that time. So with that, I'll hand it over to Ben to explain what we're going to cover today.
Cool. Thanks, Aaron. So we're going to start off by talking about the problem statement and the challenges that we have with some reporting around security, and talk about where ReportIt security came from. We'll talk a little bit about the security, the features in ReportIt security, and then we'll actually give a demo of the solution. And at the very end, we'll talk about how you can get ReportIt security and install it on your own application. So yeah, so a lot of this kind of began on my first project, where I was working with a client on implementing power user security, and that in and of itself wasn't super complicated. I found myself working um, on the transformation rule groups, and I was assigning users to access and maintenance. But I found myself doing a lot of what you're going to see on the next slide here, which was clicking around and assigning security, moving to the next group, assigning security, that sort of thing. And in and of itself, not super challenging, but what I kept coming back to is how do I make sure that I have all of these groups assigned, making sure that I didn't miss any, and just get a visual check to make sure that I assigned them correctly. So that's when I went to
Um,
Aaron and, and
and-
said, hey,
yeah,
do you know of any better way to do this?
yeah. We started looking at what's available sort of out of the box, and there is reporting on security out of OneStream. It focuses more on changes, right? Who added another user to a group, who removed a user from a group when they did that. In fact, there's security audit reports that are available from the OneStream marketplace that really do this in a very intuitive kind of way. But once again, it's more about what has changed in OneStream security. I think what Ben was trying to do for his purposes really required not just a view of the changes, but a snapshot of how security exists in the OneStream application today. Um, one of the tricky parts about this is that the security groups and the usernames, that's all stored at the framework level, which is your environment. However, where that security, where those groups are applied, that's stored in an application database. So linking the two, it was really one of the more challenging pieces of the project. But my response to Ben ultimately was, well, if you can figure that part out, this is a tool that'll be really useful for what you're trying to do now. But it can really work well for the entire OneStream community. So Ben, what did you do at that point?
Well, that's when I started really digging into OneStream and learning how, well, dashboards and business rules work. And eventually what I was able to come up with was a flat list, exactly what I was looking for, flat list of transformation rule profiles and groups, and what access and maintenance security groups were assigned to them. Um, but then, Aaron challenged me. He's like, well, what else could we do with this? Like, what else could we report on with this? And a group of other folks at Finit, we eventually started a working group of sorts to kind of bounce ideas off and come up with different views that we thought would be useful for clients to see. And again, since OneStream has that open architecture, we were able to create something without any of those application restrictions. And some of the things that we wanted to make sure of when we built this solution was that A, it's useful, B, it's easy to install without any sort of configuration or customization required. Um, doesn't matter what version you're on for OneStream, could be on-prem or on Azure, and easy to use without any training. And so what is it at the end of the day? Well, it's a collection of reports, and we kind of bucketed them in four broad categories. So the first category was around detailed object reporting. So again, things like transformation rule groups and profiles, workflows, metadata, dashboards, cube views, basically anything that could be secured in OneStream. Let's get a report for it and see how our security is set up. The second category of reports that we came up with was sort of user and group ad hoc analysis. So if a user has access to an entity, how did they get that? is there a way that we can unravel that inherited access when a group is in another group is in another group, and then that has users? And so we came up with a couple views for that. The third category was a visualization of the security hierarchy. So it's one thing to be able to go into the system and click on security, and you can go through and click on the groups and users. But is there a way to visualize our security hierarchy as a whole? And then the last category was kind of ad hoc almost. It was very specific, targeted questions around security, such as, do we have any users in our application that aren't in any groups? Do we have any groups that don't have any users? That sort of thing. So like that could be helpful around license management or security maintenance. So with that, we're going to actually show it off at this time. So Aaron's going to pass me control, and give me just a second to bring up my screen. All right, and Aaron, can you see that?
Yep, we're good. We can see OneStream.
Fantastic. Okay, so like I said before, this is ReportIt Security is a dashboard solution. So once you install it, you'll find a new dashboard here in one place called ReportIt, and this is the kind of home screen. And it's just a listing of reports on the left-hand side. And so let's show you kind of what some of those look like. So we'll start off with a object security report. And I'm going to click on the workflow security because I think that one's really helpful, because we can see, okay, who has the ability to actually execute a workflow. And we can see all of the different workflows available to it. So as you can see here, we've got a list of all of our workflows. We have, if it varies by scenario, if it's active or not, the type of profile it is, and then all of our security groups that are associated with it. So with this, what we can do is we can start to filter on it. So I'm going to run an example here, and I want to do anything that starts with Houston, if I can spell it right. And let me filter that here. All right. And then let's say I just want to see anything that's active. All right. Oops. There we go. And now I can start to actually look at this and come up with some action items around it. So if I'm looking through this, and let's say I'm just looking at Houston here, I can see that, hey, there's some that have the everyone group on it. Maybe that's not something what I want, especially for that maintenance. I can see, we have a naming convention that we've assigned here. So anything that starts with Hugh should be assigned to Houston. Import matches like that. So I can quickly see if anything looks a little funny here. Again, like on the maintenance side here, we can see it looks like we only have administrators, but a couple pop out that have everyone on it. So what I could do here is filter that says, here's what is assigned that says everyone. And now I have a list of things that I need to go back to and update it. And I know where I need to go to. I need to go to the model scenario type for this first one, and then the budget scenario type for the remaining ones.
Ben, this looks really powerful, the ability to filter and sort and analyze this data here within OneStream and this interactive dashboard with a grid view here. If you needed to send this information to someone offline or do some more analysis, is there a way to get this out of OneStream easily?
Absolutely. So within this dashboard grid view, you do have the ability to export this to Excel. So you could do it, download this and send it to somebody. You could also run pivot tables on it, that sort of thing in Excel if that's where you wanted to work with it.
Great, thank you.
Sure. So the next example of object security reporting that we'll show is dimension metadata. So this one, let's do Houston entities. So one of the asks that we had in our working group was, is there a way that we can get down to basically the user level of who has access to a dimension or a member in a dimension? So what this looks like is a little bit different format. So we use the spreadsheet view here. And what this lists here is, again, all of the members within the Houston entity's dimension, the group type, the groups that are assigned to it, if there's any children of that group, and then more importantly, how they got that access. So if we take here, Valencia has read access to Houston. Well, how does she get it? Well, Valencia is in Houston FP&A, which is in the Houston Cube group. And so you can see that inheritance path here. That's how she gets access to that. We might be more concerned with who can read and write data to that. And again, like in the grid view, I can use the sort and filter controls on this to really narrow down on who has access to what and how they got there. Now, this is, like I said, I worked at a Fortune 500 company before this, and this is exactly the type of report that we would use to conduct quarterly security audits of who had access to our Hyperion platform. What we would do is we'd run a report like this, and we would send it out to entity reviewers, and they would get back to us with changes or updates. So like, hey, this person shouldn't have access to this entity anymore. They can be taken out. And so that was one of our own internal controls that we use to manage application access.
Hey, Ben, some of our clients have really large dimensions and really quite a few security groups and users. Will this report be able to run given some rather larger volumes of data?
It will, yes. I mean, it might take a minute because depending on how complex your entity structure is, and if you've got a really complex security structure, it is going to go through and unravel that down to the user level. So what that might mean is, this report right here is pretty small. It's sample data, so it only has 55 lines. At another application that we ran, I feel like it had a couple 100,000 lines. So yeah, it might take a minute, but that said, trying to do this manually is going to take way longer than having the query just crunch it out and do it automatically for you.
Great, thank you.
Awesome. So the next type of report that we want to show is that sort of user and group analysis. And so what we're getting at here was more ad hoc in nature. So I've got in this one, this is the user analysis report. And on the left panel here, I can see a list of all of the users that I have in my application. But if I want to see, okay, well, what is Greg here assigned to, and what does he actually have access to? I can click on the name, and on the right panel, it'll update with what he's directly assigned to. So in this case, Greg is only in one group, Houston Accounting, but he has access to all of these other groups based on inheritance. So if we look at something like Houston Shared Services, again, we can see not only that he has access to it, but how he got access to it. So because Houston Accounting is in Houston Shared Services Load, and Houston Shared Services Load is in Houston Shared Services, Greg has access to that ultimately, right? So this would be, again, something useful for just ad hoc analysis, like how did this person get access to this? We can see the inheritance path here. That might prompt an action item to go update our security nesting. It also is helpful for if somebody says, hey, I need this person set up identical to this other person. Well, you can see this is how you could see that pretty quickly.
So Ben, I can see where this is really powerful. Really gives you the ability to drill in on users. Do you have a way to flip this around and see it as group?
Yep, of course. So we've got the opposite version of this, which is the security group analysis. And again, very similar layout. We've got on the left-hand side a list of all of the groups that are set up in the application. And then by clicking one, we can see, hey, is there anything directly assigned to it? And then even further down to the bottom level, what ultimately gets inherited within this group. So Houston expenses, we can see that there's two groups within that one. And then we can go down to the user level and again, see how they exactly got that access.
So just to show the power of this solution, how would you go about figuring this out before you built these dashboards?
Sure. So let's take this one as an example, Houston expenses. So I can go to the system tab here, um, and I can click on that and see like, okay, there's my two groups. I can show um, based on that inheritance, there is those buttons up here that show that. Um, but and I can go down to the user level here, but it doesn't necessarily tell me how these people got access to it. Because again, you can see here, all of these users have access to this group, and they've got to be in one of these two, but it doesn't necessarily show how they got that.
Great, thanks. It seems like it would be tedious in a one at a time kind of approach.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of use cases for something like this too, where it's again, not only whether you're doing ad hoc analysis or just trying to get an understanding of the security, how it's been implemented too. So the next example that we have is the security hierarchy report. So again, is there a way to visualize what our security looks like? Again, we could, like we just showed, we could click through on the system tab and see each group and kind of get to it that way. But we also built a report that lays it out in a hierarchy so we can see what all of those different relationships look like. All right, so it's a pretty simple report, 3 columns, but the power in this one really comes in from that indentation, right? So where we can visually see the entire structure down to the user level. So the way that we kind of look at this is we've got Paula here, who is, we can see based on the interaction, she's directly assigned to Houston controllers, but because of the nested inheritance here, she actually has access to that Houston expenses group because of the way that the group nesting takes place. So with this, we can kind of see, again, another way to visualize how our security is set up in our application. All right. And then the last type of report that we mentioned earlier is that sort of ad hoc analysis. And so what we have is we've got a tabbed dashboard here just called Other Security Reports. And these are kind of those, again, those very targeted questions of, can you show me a list of groups and how many users they have in them? So that's this particular one. And then conversely, how many users do we have? What's the number of groups that each user is in? So for this particular one, we can see there's 3 people that actually aren't in any groups. 2 really, because it's administrator, we won't count that one. But if we want to look at just those ones, and then we can start to see like, okay, well, Maya and Trent, are we concerned that those are users that are that don't not need to be in the system anymore? If so, are those people that we can disable and free up some licenses, or are they new users, right? So we, again, having that action item list of like things that we need to investigate a little bit further to make sure that our security is stays clean and up to date.
So we're going to launch another poll here in a second, but given what Ben just showed you, sort of which of those 4 broad categories is most interesting or compelling, or you think would be most useful for your applications? Is it the object security where Ben demoed the workflow and which groups are attached to it? And keeping in mind that he used workflow as an example, really any of those objects like transformation rules, data sources, confirmation rules, certification questions. There's views for all of that. So are those most helpful to you? Is it the user and group reporting where Ben had that 3-panel display that lets you zero in either on a specific user or on a specific group and investigate how that access works? Is it the hierarchy reporting that shows the groups and the users in it and lets you visually understand the nesting of the groups in your security design? Or is it that last set of groups, the other reports, that lets us look at groups without users or users without groups that you think would be most helpful? One of the things I'll mention as those results are starting to come in is When Ben first showed me this product as it was evolving, I was struck by the fact that he didn't have to tell me how to use it. It's pretty intuitive. I open up the dashboard and I can just kind of click into it, and it looks and it feels like OneStream. It's inside of OneStream. So you can see the results coming out. The user and group reporting, people seem to like that. It's a quick and easy way to zero in, again, on a group or a user. It's really helpful for troubleshooting an access issue, right? If you had a user who can't see an entity they need to, or need to be able to load but don't have the permissions, this is a really good way to investigate that. So I'll hand it back to Ben here.
Cool. Yeah. So hopefully the next question that you have is how do I get this? And it's pretty simple, actually. So it's going to be a free download. It is a free download. All you need to do is go to finit.com/reportitsecurity, and there's going to be a form there that you'll fill out, which will send a request to our team that you'd like to download it. You'll get an email from us with a link to download it. And installation is we tried to make this as very simple as possible. It's a single file that you'll upload on your application, and then you can start using it immediately.
Finally, we're going to answer some of the questions that have come in over the course of the webinar. So I'll go ahead and read those out, and Ben, if you can respond to them, that'd be great.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah. So when in the project life cycle do you think that administrators should install this?
So yeah, I think it's helpful really at any part of the project. Near the beginning when you're starting to design your security, you can use some of those reports to, again, visualize what it's looking like, as well as use those object reports as kind of check reports to make sure that you've applied security across all of the objects that you need to secure. And then of course during production, I think it seemed like the ad hoc, that user and group analysis really resonated with a lot of people today. And that's exactly what we intended it for, is really answering those quick questions when you're in production, trying to figure out how people get access to what and that sort of thing. But again, as I mentioned before, at my own last company that I worked at, we had that internal control of reviewing it on a quarterly basis. That's another way that you could use those reports and develop some internal controls around application access.
Excellent, thank you. Another one of our attendees asked whether or not these dashboards can be customized.
So yes, but it would require talking to Finit about that, and we could help understand kind of what the requirements are around what you'd like changed, and then potentially develop a custom solution for you. But it would take contacting Finit to get those updated.
Great, thank you. Someone else asked, what about slice security reporting?
Yeah, so slice security reporting, there is a report on OneStream's standard application reports that works with slice security. So I'd recommend checking that first and see if that's something that that suits your needs. And the same thing with the security audit reports that OneStream has. Like, we kind of intended this to be a companion solution to those marketplace solutions. And so I would check with those first. If it's not something that you're finding that's not exactly what you're looking for, but by all means, definitely let us know, and it's potentially something that we could help develop.
Excellent, thanks. Someone else typed into the question field, why did you decide to render these dashboards as grid views and as spreadsheets?
Yeah, really, usability for us. I think that a lot of times we want to just export stuff to Excel because it's easier to manipulate there. So and using kind of those pivot functions and sorting and filtering within the dashboards is really for more for usability around those aspects. How can we get to being able to really dig into the data rather than having just a PDF report?
Excellent, thank you. I think we'll do one last question that came in. We group our units, our 3 business areas, and we send recertification reports to a central lead for each value center containing users who have access to any of the entities within that lead's specific value center. Can we use ReportIt Security to report on users with access to groups of entities as distinguished from one existing, one particular entity?
So it's not designed to do that right now, but that's definitely something that we could look at. I think, my question would be, what identifies in the system like that it's a part of a specific group? Is it a parent in there? Is it that sort of thing? And then we could look at it from that perspective and figure out if there's a way to develop something. I can kind of visualize how the solution would look, but I'd need to probably talk to that person to understand a little bit more about what distinguishes them and how we would make that work. But I won't say no. I think I have more questions.
Right. No, that's great.
Yeah, no, I think it sounds definitely possible.
Yeah. Just to reiterate what Ben said, we're releasing this as a free solution, and sort of what's built in as it's built in is sort of what we're releasing now. That's by no means an end state, and we're not done developing this tool. We expect there'll be some modifications, and frankly, based on your feedback, we may well work with you to build custom reports and add some more reports sort of into the solution as it continues to develop. Well, thanks. Those are great. Appreciate everyone's participation and the questions that came in. We hope you're really excited about this tool. We hope that you just get in here, download it, bring it into your app, and start using it. We always welcome your answers. If there are ones that we haven't gotten to on the webinar, please feel free to email them to us. We'll definitely get back to you. We want to understand how you're using it, what you like about it, what else you'd like to see. You can see Ben and my email there. Please feel free to reach out to us. If you'd like a copy of this presentation or a link of the recording of it, please email insights@finit.com. Stay tuned in Q1. We're going to have another webinar about one of our clients, IDEX. It's going to be a case study. They had a huge Hyperion footprint, and it was a conversion to OneStream application. So don't miss that. That's going to be a great webinar. And at the top right of this slide, you can see a link to look at our past webinars. If you want to browse through those topics, there's quite a bit of good information there. Lastly, I'd ask you to please follow us on LinkedIn and on Twitter. Thanks very much for your time and your participation. And again, don't hesitate to reach out to us if you have questions.